This is Black Mental Health Matters. I'm Dr. Carrie Ann Williams. I'm a psychiatrist practicing in Massachusetts, and this is a podcast that's about everything related to mental wellness in the Black community and beyond. If you are a Black woman, you have likely faced the frustration of figuring out the best way to take care of your Afro-textured hair. But wait, why would I talk about Afro-textured hair on a mental health podcast? Well, for Black men and women, having Afro-textured hair in the world that we live in is a psychological experience. Black women, in particular, in a country like the United States, which is predominantly white, often face a pressure of conforming to Eurocentric standards. What that means is that beautiful hair is defined as hair that is long and straight. And for women, their appearance can significantly affect their mood and psychological well being. When women feel like they can't measure up, they're prone to depression, anxiety, and feelings of insecurity. My guest for today's podcast episode has publicly experienced hair discrimination, and she has gone through that emotional journey and has decided to live authentically in a way that helps other people. So I'm going to add her to the podcast now. Shalita Grant is a Juilliard-trained, Tony-nominated actress who starred as NCIS Special Agent Sonia Percy on NCIS New Orleans from 2014 to 2021. But she ended up leaving the show after suffering from traction alopecia, which is unfortunately a type of hair loss that's common in the Black community, often as a result of trying to force our natural hair into what we might consider more socially acceptable hairstyles. Now, Shalita then went on to create a plant-based hair treatment called 4Naturals. So welcome to the podcast, Shalita.
Thank you so much for having me.
So tell us a little bit more about yourself and your background.
So, as you said, I'm an actress. I started acting in high school. It was kind of accidental. There was a sleepy meeting in my middle school about a new high school that was opening up in Virginia, and there was like an arts governor school. So of all of the disciplines, acting was the only one that I didn't need like prior experience in. And so I auditioned, I got in, and then I moved to Baltimore with my dad's family, and I started going to Baltimore School for the Arts. And it was there that really cemented my path as an actress. The school does like all of these like programs, and they're very connected to all of the scholarship competitions and things. And so I just took advantage of whatever they put in front of me. Was always prepared. And I looked up and I was 17 at Juilliard in Manhattan.
Oh, wow. So you were, acting on this popular television series, and tell us about that experience. What was going on? What's the deal with Afro-textured hair in Hollywood?
Yeah. So I always like to say, like, every Black woman across the globe believes that the problems that she's having with her hair can be solved with money and access. And I'm here to tell you that's just not true. And it's right in front of you. It's hiding in plain sight. Every well-known, very well-connected, very wealthy Black woman with tight Afro-textured hair is bewigged. We don't see their hair regularly. It's usually underneath a wig or tucked expertly into some kind of extensions, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, I have typical African-American hair. Everything that you think about African-American hair, all the characteristics, the dryness, the lack of curl definition, the not pleasant reaction to water, whether it's sweat, humidity, rain, chlorinated water or salt water. And it was very fragile. If I looked at a heat tool, I was heat damaged. Breakage was just the name of the game. And just the act of detangling my hair, I would have that hard feeling of seeing the side of the bathtub full of clumps of my hair. And I'm like, when am I going to go bald? Right? Like, that's a lot. When is this going to go? But then I have this atypical career that requires the use of my hair. And just like in the world, Hollywood has no clue what to do with Afro-textured hair. So what was my experience? Well, I was on NCIS for about 3.5 seasons. I came on at the end of season 1. And one of the things that the fans noticed about Sonia Percy was that her ponytail changed every episode. Sometimes within the episode, I had a completely different scalp construction. But what they didn't understand was this was a response to a mandate and the reality of my hair. So when I came on in season 1, the producers were very stuck on ponytail. Professional. It's a professional look. It's not vain. But to put a ponytail on a wig or extensions in the middle of New Orleans is the definition of vanity. So, but because this was my first series regular job, this is like my first, this is the golden goose of acting jobs. I wanted to be a team player. I wanted to comply because I'm more than just my hair, right? Like I'm a Juilliard trained actress and I was doing my own stunts. There was so much that I had to give, but I just kept getting stuck on the hair. So what does that look like? That looks like, I had one of the earliest call times. The first people on set is transpo. The second people on set is the hair and makeup department. And the third group are the actors. So my calls were routinely 5 a.m., 5:15 a.m. And I had 90 minutes, sometimes 2 hours for hair and makeup, but it was mainly just hair, an hour and a half for hair. And so, I didn't get as much sleep as everyone did. And then there would be the issue of if it rained or if there was some weather event, my hair became the center of the conversation. And then the different modalities of ponytail, extension, wig, whatever, everyone, because of the nature of Afro-textured hair, you can't do the same thing. Because when you do the same thing, you get the damage of overuse or overdoing the same thing. So, in season 2, we did the extensions. In the middle of season 2, I had traction alopecia in the center of my head, a bald spot in my late 20s. And then I switched to the wigs. But then by the middle of season 3, I was losing my hair in the front of my head. So it was no matter what I did, my hair would always undermine me in some way with its fragility, right? It wasn't strong enough to meet this high bar. And for me, it was the kind of frustration that evolved into a lot of other very hard feelings. And when I realized that I was losing all of my hair along my hairline, I realized that I had to quit my job.
And so that process of quitting, I guess I'm so curious to know, maybe first of all, how it felt for you to kind of be treated that way, to be treated as though your hair was a problem that needed to be fixed. And what it was also like for you when you realized, I've got to leave this job that I really wanted because it's damaging me.
Right. Yeah. It was an elongated process because, when you initially hit an obstacle that's out of your control, you want to just think that it's solvable, right? Or at the very least, it's not pointed, right? But the problem, and this is something that every Black woman has experienced in some way, if it's not her hair, it's her voice. It's too loud. It's, she talks too much. It's just we're always too much or not enough. And so when you're experiencing that, it's you want to believe that it's overcomable, right? You want to believe that oh, if I just comply, if I just, make some adjustments, everything's going to be fine. And so eventually, and this is something that you experience, is that when you have a problem, like if you have a legitimate issue, like, hey, this doesn't work, and the people outside of you don't want to solve it, then you become the problem. And so your meetings change, the way that they word things begin to change. And so the thing that you were in denial about in the beginning, it becomes like really clear. But you're not allowed to react to it, right? You're not allowed to have real human emotions about how you're being treated. Like we have this task of being like ducks, because if you're like a seagull and you're like, hey, this is a fucking problem, like, this is wrong, he's doing the same thing and you're not even reacting to him that way. Like, you can't be that way. You got to be a duck. You got to keep it all underneath, and you got to keep going, because if you're upset, then there's a lot that can come with that. So for me, I relied a lot on therapy, and I relied a lot on a lot of like self-mastery things, like the 4 agreements, or stoicism, just like relying on these philosophies. And I had plenty of time to put them into practice because our days are so long. So the fatigue just in general is a lot. But then when you have on top of that you are supposed to be something, like at 4 o'clock, if we're outside, I was concerned that my hair was curling back up, and then when I'm sitting in the chair and they're touching me up, I'm concerned about the heat damage that they're doing. But I'm not allowed to like really voice this, because at the end of the day, no one can solve this problem. So when I got to the end of season 3 in my hiatus, and I saw the damage along my hairline, the breakage, and that I was threatening to be bald on my hairline, for a lot of Black women, losing your edges, like, they never come back for some Black women. Yeah. So hiding hair loss in the center of my head was easier than it would be if it was on my hairline. And again, my hair is my career. It's part of my job. It's how I show up as my characters, right? So there was a lot of grief involved with having to break my contract. There was a ton of fear about the future. Okay, I break this contract. What if I don't work again? Or worse, what if I work again and I have the same problems? Yeah. So that's where I ended in 2018. I got off nice, and I went into trauma therapy actually immediately after getting off that show. And I did the first 3 months, and it was actually through somatic therapy that I began to kind of hone in, and I decided to take responsibility for the aspect of my body that gave me the most friction in life, my hair.
Wow. No, it's interesting how, for those of you guys listening that are not Black women, just the connection between our hair and our mental well-being. And, it's an experience that can really just have such a dramatic effect. Because it's easy to damage. We live in a world that doesn't quite appreciate Afro-textured hair. I guess I'll ask a little bit about, what do you think about how Hollywood thinks of it now, I guess, has there been any improvement really, or is it pretty much the same?
Yeah, I think really, and I've said this before, but I'm blanking on her name, but she's not with us anymore, but she's one of the legends, one of the first like incredible Black actresses. She said on The View back in like 2008, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And so in Hollywood right now, what that means is you may get a Black hair person, but they're not skilled in the hairstyle or construction that they're being asked to do. So for me, for 3 years, my hair person was a Black man who was a barber. Like that was his like skill set. He put some wigs on some people, but they were usually men, and he was using like spirit gum, like old school stuff, right? So like even like my tracks, like when my thread would break, he couldn't even see where the thread, and the idea of sewing, like that's a different skill set. And so what happens in Hollywood, the hair union is not what you think it is. Just like the cosmetology board is not what you think it is. Everyone believes that their licensed cosmetologist, it was taught about hair care, textured hair care, and they were not, because the cosmetology board teaches hair is hair and passes out straight hair mannequins. And when it comes to the different textures, they don't even recognize the hair chart that was created by Andre Walker, a Black man, Oprah's hairstylist. It's been around for decades. We use it colloquially, but our certifying body for hair doesn't even recognize it. Wow. So there is a reason that you have such a varied experience, salon chair to salon chair. You have some stylists that will try to detangle your hair dry. You'll have some stylists that will try to detangle your hair wet with a little bit of conditioner and a wide tooth comb. You know, like there's just all of these different ideas about specifically the tightest texture on the hair chart, the type 4. So the texture gap in the real world exists in Hollywood too. You know, the difference is for Hollywood, you know, if they do a bad style on you, millions of people see it. Yeah. So the bar is much higher. And also they're incentivized to expiate themselves from any responsibility for how you look, especially if your hair is tightly textured. You know, it's like, well, that's just her hair. That's what it does. That's who you hired. There's nothing I can do. You know, that's just on them. So it's very common for Black actresses today to do their own hair at home. Yeah. Yeah. And eat some of them, the makeup even, they at home or in their trailer after visiting. So like, it's for Hollywood, it's reflective of the real world. And while my experience was egregious, it's not the only one. True. Wow. So then you left the show. Did you take a break from acting for a while to kind of take care of your hair? Have you, did you get back into acting, but with different roles? So 2018, I left in the spring. I did about 3 months of trauma therapy, and about a month and a half after that was done, I booked a recurring arc on Santa Clarita Diet. And then before I was done with that arc, I booked another recurring arc on Search Party. So when I looked up in 2019, in January, I thought, okay, my biggest fear that I wouldn't work again did not happen. I actually worked immediately after I left that job. But my second fear could still happen because both of those characters were in wigs. So if I do get another series regular job where I have to be there every day, then I may have the same problem because I can't trust Hollywood to hire learned, knowledgeable, experienced people to do what they're asking them to do. You know, they have to say yes to everything. And so they try, but, Wow. So you created a special kind of proprietary hair treatment called For Naturals, FOUR, For Naturals. How do you just make a hair treatment? Like, how do you learn how to make a hair treatment? Tell us about that. That's a great question. So back in 2019, this is January, I'm like, all right, everybody you just played was still in a wig. So you've been to the top of the mountain, you've visited other peaks, and no one is coming to save you. There is no one who is coming. And so if no one is coming, then why not save myself? Like, I know more about my black hair than the CEO of L'Oreal does. So why not just take the information that I have about myself and solve those problems? So simply, this was me recognizing the texture gap and deciding that I was going to fill it for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I started out, it was really just about me. So first I thought about, the somatic therapy, just like tracking my emotions.
Mm-hmm.
I would catch my feelings about just throughout the day about things. And I recognized all of these random limitations that were about my hair. So like humidity, the fear that my wig would lift up, my lace front wig. Oh, that's hard. That's friction. The feeling that I got, about getting invited to pool parties or even going to the beach, right? I would go to beach with my dog because my dog likes going to the beach, but mommy really doesn't. And mommy is in two hats, a hair hat and a regular hat. So how do I feel about wearing two hats to the wig? It feels to the beach. It feels redundant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I would catch my feelings about my detangling, about the lack of curl definition, this confounding like dryness issue. My hair would get wet really fast, but then it wouldn't hold any kind of moisture. It would get dry and it was dull. So I started catching all of these, what I learned later were pain points. And I just thought, okay, if the world were perfect, what do I need? Like, what is it that will help me in all of these aspects around my hair? What will set me free from these limitations? And I thought, man, it would be really great if I had an actual treatment that restored my hair, that would make my hair resilient as my soul is. I need my hair to be, because my external life, it can be chaotic, and I want my hair to be able to stand up to whatever it faces.
Mm-hmm.
And so I recognized my wash day was chock full of ritual, because I would sit with this stuff on my hair. I would DIY, or I would buy some like over the counter like hair mask. And I just thought, if the longer I keep this on, this slick feeling I have while it's in here is going to stay in there. There's just a magic time. And then it's just going to be like that all the time. And it would never happen. But then it was like too late for me to deal with it, literally, because I now have to twist my hair. I have to style my hair after the care ritual that I did. So I thought, is there something out there that really does do what I'm expecting this avocado, egg, mayonnaise thing to do? And so I thought, all right, I'm not going to look to cosmetology. I'm not going to look to the cosmetology board, because we're all in the place that we are in because of the cosmetology board. It is disturbing that Black people have been here since the beginning, since the cosmetology board began, and there's no specialized, focused attention on our hair type. It's disturbing. So I don't want to look to them, because everything that they have is full of just racial stuff. I want to go somewhere where the racial lens is a little clearer. And so I learned about cosmetic chemistry, and that is the study of hair for hair products. So I got these journals and articles, and I started reading. I actually just got this. I printed it off. I love to kind of print my stuff, but like the texture gap. These are white papers from a company that's specifically studying the issues that come with the tight textured hair, type 4 hair. And that was the other thing that I recognized. No one wants to talk to us. They like put all these 3 people up there and they say texture. Yes. Right. Yes. And so, but you don't see the 4. And then when you do see the 4, her hair looked like yours. You like, that's what that did to your hair. Well, that's what the state I'm in. Why would I pay for that? Right. So I thought, all right, I'm going to learn from cosmetic chemistry. I'm going to get scientifically what this is about, right? Like, why is it that the stuff doesn't stick to my hair? Oh, hair is dead, meaning hair is negatively charged. So you need products with a positive or cationic charge to stick in the hair. So none of those things that I've been using has any electrical charge. So that's not going to do anything for me. Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right. Porosity. That's the experience that your hair has with water. So there's 3: low, high, and balance. I figured out that I was high because my hair would get wet really fast, but then it would get dry super fast, and I was prone to heat damage. That's because my hair naturally, my cuticles are paper thin, and I have all these gaps in my cuticle. Okay, thank you. So then I thought, who in the world, non-white, has a great hair reputation? And what are their philosophies and what are they using? And so then I lit on India, Eritrea, Ethiopia, and Greece. And so it was from India that I learned truly what Ayurveda is. And it is a system of plants and things that are known to heal human maladies at their root cause, not the symptoms. And so the people of India have a great hair reputation. And so doing a little digging, I realized it's henna. They've been using henna not just on their skin, but in their hair for centuries. And not just the women, the children, and the men for their beards. When you see Indian men with orange in their beard, they treated their beard with henna. And that thing is probably the softest thing you'll ever feel. But it's really strong and it's long and it's got this beautiful like wave. So in learning about henna and what henna does, I learned that henna is the thing that we've all been looking for with type 4 hair. We add a bunch of products to our hair, right? Thinking that it's going to give it the weight, right? Because our hair normally stands straight up and it's shrunken and it's stiff. And so you think if I add like 3 creams and a gel, it's going to give it the weight and it's going to be fine, you know? And then it doesn't. You just get dull, like gross hair, right? You need henna. Henna coats the strand. And henna is cumulative, meaning that every henna treatment builds on the last. So the hair gets thicker, stronger, softer, curlier, longer, because you're able to retain your length because you've strengthened the weakest part of the hair strand, which are your ends. So I looked to Black women that used henna and had bad experience, right? I'm like, I'm not some genius.
I was going to ask you about that. That do people have bad experiences with it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's part of the research, right? I was just going to say, I'm not some genius. I'm not Elon Musk or a 9-year-old. So let me just see if there are people who have failed at this, right? And I went to YouTube and I got all of the henna fail videos, and I just sort of figured out, okay, they all have like about 3 things in common. They used just water with their henna. They used a bastardized henna that has like chemical metallic salts in it. And they didn't deep condition after, right? So I thought, if I do what the people of India actually do with their henna mud mask, it's not just henna powder and water. It's henna powder with other humectants or other Ayurvedic herbs that heal the other maladies that they're having with their hair. And every henna mud mask is different. Recipe is different for each family because everyone has different hair maladies, right, that they're trying to heal. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to make sure that I deep condition after, but also like, why doesn't the cosmetology board tell people to use henna? And so then I learned that they do have one paragraph in the cosmetology, education about henna. And it says, and this is what the hairstylists remember. They remember, it says, if henna, it has a bad reaction to hair color. And when you put color on hennaed hair, it will smoke and could potentially catch on fire. And so you don't want to color anyone's hair that has henna, and you don't want to use it. What it actually says is there are some hennas that contain chemical and metallic salts. What are those hennas? Those are the quick hennas, the 30-minute hennas. those hennas are being used by people who are dyeing their hair exclusively with henna. They're not using it for care, they're using it for the dyeing property. And it's those chemical and metallic salts that have a bad reaction with the color. And because you cannot be sure which henna your client has used, always strand test, but avoid it at all costs, right? The 4 Naturals Henna Mud Mask that I eventually created in July 2019, it's just Henna lawsonia, the plant that's been dried, pulverized, and turned into a powder. And so when I made my first concoction, let's talk about that. It's not the exact same. It was actually a little more complicated. I just like threw everything in the kitchen sink in there. And then over time, I simplified the formula. But that first treatment, I had sort of that like Black girl, like, I can't trust you. I've been hurt before, you know, like, no, like, I can't believe it. But what I noticed was like, it was like someone had traced along my strands. Like my strands are like angel hair, right? And so it just stands straight up. So it was like someone like outlined my strand, and that outline added weight to my hair. And I had these coils that I only saw when my hair was super wet, or if it had like bentonite clay in it, and then it would just like disappear. But it was like nothing in my hair, and I had these like coils. And I was like, I don't know, I'm not sure. And then about a week and a half later, I thought I'll do another one and see if it's true. Like, am I going to see a difference? And I did. And by the third treatment, like a week after the third treatment, I slept on my hair last night. No bonnet. I washed my hair. Today is Wednesday. I washed my hair and did my like wash and go Friday. And today I just added some water to refresh whatever like gel may still have been left. And my hair is just, and so when I saw this after my third treatment, and I had like showered and worked out and sweated and all this stuff, and my hair, I had curls. I was like, oh my God, this is it. The last hurdle was flat ironing it, right? So I'm like, okay, if I have coated my strands, I should be able to use heat on it, right? Because my actual strands are protected. And I did, and I put water on my hair, and it shrunk right back up. And so when I had that experience, I thought, there's no way I can't have this out for other Black women. Like, there's no way. Like, the freedom that I felt to go, you know, at the time I pole danced for my exercise. And so there was just like this 180 of like, before I would pole in my wig and I would go upside down, and I'm like, I know they could see the whole thing, but I don't care, you know, and like swinging stuff that's not really mine, right? Like, it's a level of like, almost, but not there yet. And then when I went in after my third treatment, I was like, I'm not gonna do the wig when I pole today. I'm gonna see what that's like. And so being able to like see my hair swing, right? And like the curls, and it's shiny. I just felt like the most myself that I had ever felt. Like truly me. Like there's nothing, rain, shine, sweat, that can take this swag away, because this is just me, right? And so when I had that experience, I thought, you gotta try to figure out how to get this to everybody.
Wow. It's amazing. And it's interesting that it is something that people have been using for a while, but it just hadn't really caught on in the US, and that it was being taught improperly here. And so then you designed a couple of products. Is it two products at this point that are on the market?
Yeah. So there's the henna mud mask and the cassia deep conditioner. So why do I have a deep conditioner? I have a deep conditioner because I wanted to have the experience of leaving a conditioner on my hair and it actually changing my hair. So cassia obovata is known colloquially as the neutral henna. Why? Because it acts like henna in that it has a charge that can lodge onto your hair, but it's not permanent like henna. So it does wash out after some, washes. But cassia makes the hair so shiny, so soft. And so pairing a henna with a cassia treatment, it just makes the hair, the health of the hair is just, it's accelerated.
So you use both together, or this like you'll use them on the same day?
Yeah. So what is the treatment? So I recognize the resiliency issue with my actual hair, that the issues that I was having with my hair, all the things that you associate, the characteristics that you associate with Black hair are actually a health issue. It's not a DNA issue. And so that's one of the hurdles that I have with explaining the treatment, is that like people are like, what? So it just makes your hair curly? No, it makes your hair better in every way. There are products out there that are like, if you use this gel, you'll see curls. But if you use another gel, you won't see anything. With the Four Naturals treatment, every product works like $1 million product in your hair, because the health of your hair has been improved. So there was that, but then there was the detangling issue. So part of my research was also understanding detangling and what we were getting wrong about it. We detangle our hair with a straight hair concept. Why? When straight hair is tangled, we understand that the strands are going around each other. You can't get a comb from the root to the tips easily. And so that hair is detangled when you can get a comb through the roots to the tips easily, and the hair is kind of hanging side by side. So when you look at a type 3 curl, what do you notice? That curl is made up of dozens of hair strands. But when it comes to type 4 hair, we don't see our hair as detangled curly. We say we have to comb it out. We have to brush it out. And so at the end of our detangling sessions, we have that fro, right? Those strands, those coily strands, have been brushed out away from each other. And those ends, the way that they work is that they always want to go back to the root. And they're already like, in a zigzag or spiral pattern. And so that act makes the hair get tangled up immediately after you detangle it that way. And so I noticed that, but I also noticed the slip issue. There's still a debate about whether to detangle the hair wet or dry. Well, when you're talking about type 4 hair, there should be no debate. The hair should be wet and have a ton of slip. That's it. That's the end of the story. And so what I recognized was that the people of Ethiopia and Eritrea are known for their hair, that they pre-poo their hair before YouTube existed. They've been pre-pooing. Mm-hmm. What do they use to pre-poo? Kiba or ghee, butter. And so that butter saturates and moisturizes the hair, and their strands hang toward the ground. Well, I knew I was not going to be putting butter in my hair. If I don't do rice water, what makes you think I'm going to do margarine? So I thought, what is out there that I could add, like one thing that I'm already doing one thing. I'm already water, deep conditioner. If there's one thing that I could add, what could it be that would give me a Kiba-like experience with my hair? It's olive oil. And so the only reason people associate olive oil with cooking exclusively is Rachel Ray. But before Rachel Ray popularized us using EVOO, the Greeks have been using olive oil in their hair treatments. And if you took a walk down any corner store with Black hair products, you'll find African Pride, ORS, with products with the hero ingredient, olive oil. Yeah. Why is olive oil so amazing in your detangling? Well, one, it's not greasy. It runs right out. If you try to just let olive oil sit on your hair, it's literally going to drip down your strands. It don't want to stick, right? But when it's combined with conditioner and a little bit of time, it creates this like moisture barrier around the strands, so that when you like go to take a tangle out or whatever, the tensile strength of the hair is super high. Tensile strength is the ability to bend before it breaks. Think steel, right? It's flexibility, it's elasticity. That's real strength when it comes to strands and strands of hair. So that combination of the olive oil and the conditioner makes the hair so elastic that you're able to slip, slide, shed hair, and get through your detangle. So the first step in the Four Naturals treatment is my patent pending detangling method. It is the fastest, thorough, pain-free detangle with the least amount of hair. The second thing is that henna mud mask. Henna mud mask. You're going to take that, like a couple tablespoons, and mix it with water. And then you just put it on your hair like a wash day, right? Mm-hmm. And then you let that sit for as long as you like. It's dermatologically tested, skin safe. I have curl friends with scalp issues that like inflammation, dandruff. I have curl friends who suffer with Graves' disease, like very weak hair. And the Four Naturals treatment, that henna, the fenugreek, the coffee, all of these things have either antimicrobial, antibacterial properties, or vitamins that are great for scalp, right? Mm-hmm. And then you'll follow it up with a cassia deep conditioner or any other conditioner you want to use, but you want to deep condition after no matter what. Mm-hmm. The great thing about the cassia deep conditioner is that you can use it like a mini treatment whenever you don't want to do the full treatment. But after you rinse out that deep conditioner, your hair will be the best hair of your life. And it's going to change your life from your wash days that are like 13 days long because you have to care and then you have to style. It breaks that up. You have your treatment days for when you're like, I want to just put some goodness in my hair so that I can live my life with gorgeous, amazing hair. And then you have your wash days, but they're not days. It's a wash hour, right? Yeah. And you're able to go from straight to curly. So it just takes your daily maintenance, your overall manageability. It dramatically improves it. And it's just the treatment. You don't have to do special stuff, in between your treatments because the special stuff is already in your hair.
So this is not something you need to use every wash day. It's kind of like once a month, something like that.
Yes, the treatment cadence could be once a month. If your hair is super compromised, literally every treatment, the hair gets better. So our product, at the end of 2019, I did the product testing phase. And so I had a bunch of women who volunteered to do 7 to 9 treatments over the course of 2.5 months. Why that short a time frame? Because I had read that the henna builds on the last, that it's a cumulative treatment. So I wanted to see if that accumulation is visible when you treat the hair like super close together. Like, does the hair look different? And it does. So it doesn't matter if you treat your hair every 2 weeks, every month, or every 6 months. Every treatment, your hair is just going to get better. That is what we want, right? We want to see a difference. We want a change in how our hair behaves. And when your hair behaves differently, life is so much easier.
Wow. So, thank you so much for sharing your journey and for, turning your experience into a situation that helps other people. I think that to me is one of the best ways to deal with what life throws at us is to turn it into something that not just helps you, but helps other people. It kind of changes the world essentially. Yeah. And thank you for sharing the emotional journey that you went through, what it felt like for you to kind of be treated that way by Hollywood, but also what helped you and the fact that you did do therapy and you did, kind of seek things that would help you to heal, and you took action and you studied and you learned. So it's not just about suffering, it's about the overcoming, and that you didn't just do it on your own. You had help. As we kind of end today, where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, go to fournaturalshair.com if you want to learn more about Four Naturals. And there's my Instagram. It's just my name. And then online, www.fournaturalshair.com. That has all of our education. You can learn way more about your hair pre-treatment and your hair post-treatment.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. And thanks to listeners for joining us for today's podcast. You've been listening to Black Mental Health Matters with Dr. Carrie Ann. My guest today was Shalita Grant. And hope you guys will join us again next time for another podcast episode. Take care.